Discussing the big headlines, and one of the biggest is the one on the front page of the Taifa Leo, Natembeya akaziwa, and it's the image of George Natembeya on the front page that I'm looking at. And as Natembeya said, this action by the government definitely may have a different kind of consequence than what, if at all, it was trying to silence dissenters. This has a different kind of consequence, don't you think?
My brother, I see there's a narrative, you know. I've listened, you know, I like listening, especially to where elders like my brother here is, as well as my colleague senator. You know, when they talk, you can see actually there's a narrative. And I think that the narrative is that Natembeya was being targeted by state, and therefore has been created as an alternative kingpin of the Luhya nation. I think that I'll let that narrative sink in those who want to go with it, because I don't think that I also understand Luhya politics a little bit, in the sense that I've worked with Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for a while, who actually has had a very strong presence and actually control in the Western politics in general. Of course, is a nationalistic leader. I also studied in the Luhya land, just for your information. Mm-hmm. And I think that this would be a desirable outcome. You know, people who might think that Natembeya would then go and displace, you know, the National Assembly Speaker, you know, and people like Honorable Mudavadi, and other Luhya leaders. I think I want to wish them well in that narrative.
You don't think it will happen?
I think you know, in politics everything is possible, mm-hmm. and I'm not being dismissive. I'm just saying that it's not anything near Luhya kingpin. That's all I want to say. But I also want to say that the important message here is this: when these kind of things happen, because I've seen a number of governors being rained on in the past. Right, and the default that people easily take is usually a political default. And as a custodian of devolution, because under Article 96, I'm placed to protect those governors as well as protect the interests of the county. And the interest of the county is sometimes protecting those county governments, but also sometimes protecting the people. So we find ourselves in a very thin balance here, where you might have actually a problem, like I do, with how our governors use our resources. It's a serious problem across the country, some worse than others in terms of just, you know, wasting public resources and you know, stealing public money. And therefore there's a very thin balance on this matter on, do you want to completely blind yourself against that there's a potential, especially where the IEBC has raised some serious concerns? Do you want to blind yourself against that and just take it politically? I don't think that would be by responsibility as a senator. It would be responsible. That's why I'm saying that this is a matter that's in court, because you had Senator Nyutu saying that this was purely political. Senator Nyutu on 9th of February this year, the same raid, in fact, even worse than what happened in Natembeya, happened in Bomet, where the governor of Bomet was rained on by the police. In fact, public was rioting. The public was tear-gassed in Bomet, and it was a serious arrest that we all saw in the glare of cameras, mm-hmm. right? And then the court had to pronounce itself on the 19th of February, about 10 days after, when that matter was put in court. I did not hear a custodian of devolution sent from Muranga to the Senate, making even a sentence about that particular issue. And that's why I'm saying it will be wrong to throw aspersions that this is a purely political issue. So what happens if after 10 days the court finds Natembeya liable for some criminality around the wastage of public resources? What do you say? Will you chew your words? So as a senator, you must be responsible that, yes, there could be a potential for dissenting voices being silenced, and that we must condemn. If the national government is dissenting voices of people who disagree with them in this kind of manner, that's unacceptable within our country. But in the same manner, as a senator, we must also take fiduciary responsibility that if there is a place where there is corruption, we must condemn that as well, because we should not let ourselves be caught into the politics. We must be responsible leaders who can look at things from facts. Okay. And those facts will come from court.
Let's consider...
Just a minute. Just a minute. I want to help my brother on 2 points. The first one is to disabuse what you are saying, that there is a narrative. I think I just gave you a background and said the manner in which this thing happened will even kill the intended purpose of reining in on corruption. Because the moment you make it to just a politics, the way this one has come out, then the public buys what sells to them, which is political narrative. Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying. You would have done it better. That's all what I'm saying. The second point I want to help please don't reduce this debate to being you and your problems in the Senate and all that with the new... I don't want to go that direction. I want us to look at this thing very objectively. Mm-hmm. It is not only in county government. I sit in a park. It is not only in county governments we have problems of corruption. And all of us as a country have agreed, including Mama Mboga, that we cannot continue losing money.
But it seems you're very comfortable with it because...
But how many of these...
It seems you're very... friend, just one moment.
Listen.
It seems he's very comfortable with the issue of corruption because if there is substance raised on...
You have a problem of understanding. Let me put...
I'm more concerned...
No, you have a problem of
Gentlemen. I'm more concerned... Gentlemen,
I think this...
Allow me to lead this debate.
I'm telling you, you could want to move this cup here.
Probably we consider the effectiveness of these actions by the EACC
exactly.
over time. Because
what you do
it's not just under William Ruto that we are seeing this.
Exactly.
Even Rigathi Gachagua was arrested and Uhuru Kenyatta in similar fashion. But how consequential are these actions by the EACC?
Even as you put across your question to me, I think it's important that we tell our colleagues, even where you have a very burning point, just wait for your time to come. And Nabi should have actually waited because it was my time. With those very burning points, just wait until your time comes so that we may be able to progress well. Just hold it. And I agree with most of it.
I'm the one to assign you time. I may decide when you speak.
Most of the arguments that Nabi has are actually, I support them. But it's important so that we can have, a flow that everyone waits until they get their time. I think I have heard Eddie say that as a responsible senator, because the Senate, of course, is charged with the responsibility of, protecting the devolution. And of course, by protecting devolution, you protect even the resources allocated to county governments. But I think Eddie, and that's why Nabi couldn't have been able to wait. I think Eddie is, trivializing this debate. We did not, I have not in my submission, alleged or said that we support pilferage of public resources. What we are saying, and that is what Nabi couldn't be able to wait because it was very burning, it is the way it is being done. That's the issue we have. The way it is being done. And I think I had submitted earlier, just summon a governor, they'll appear, and then you carry out investigations, charge them in court. Eddie has also talked about the governor of Bomet and said that there is no particular pattern, but Eddie knows that the governor of Bomet, in fact, Bomet and Kericho, those two counties, the governors there are not Ruto's men. And that is something that is known by anybody who cares to know what is happening in our counties. And so when you
kindly clarify, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Ruto's men?
Yes. What I mean is, when you are somebody's man, of course, you are somebody who enjoys their favor, you are somebody who enjoys their support, and of course, there is a particular, there are those men, we have kitchen cabinets, and that is known. There are those men that you call the president's men. I mean, and that is not something that...
The governor of Bomet and the governor of Kericho.
Yes, those two. And I do not want to get into more details. But of course, the Kipsigis, subset of the Kalenjin have very many problems with President Ruto. And that is something that we can have a long debate about, of course, even because of their economic activities, which is tea and what have you, and so many other things. And nobody doesn't know what Farouk has said about the Kipsigis in the past. And so there are those things, and it is known. And there is also, in Kalenjin politics, there are also two sides. They are pro-Ruto, leaders, and others who are not exactly, pro-Ruto, and let me not mention names. And so the governor of Bomet fits in the pattern. That is what I'm trying to say. Because this is not a Ruto man, and I insist on that. But if you allow me, to just...
I'd asked you a question about the EACC and how effective these dramatic arrests are. How consequential. You've seen so many dramatic arrests by the EACC that really end up not in court, or even in court, that case just fizzles out.
Yes, that's it. What EACC should do is to carry out sufficient, investigation and present a watertight case against any governor that is not to be pilfering public funds in their counties. But what we are seeing ECC doing is populist actions like these dramatic arrests. I don't know whether they are the ones that, I think the police here then also, had Kafa governor, and we make a big deal out of it. If you talk about Wamatangi, the governor of Kiambu, the arrest was so dramatic. When it went to court, there was almost nothing. So I think it's important that we call out EACC. Let them do professional investigations. Let them not hurry in arresting, suspects. Let them, have a good case in court, well researched on, with good evidence after, thorough research and thorough investigation, so that we can see, because, and I agree with Eddie, as a senator, we want to see people who are, plundering public resources, especially at the county level. And then we also need, especially when it's the governor, we also need to place those officers working at the county, they also need to have individual responsibility. Because there could be a governor, yes, and I think this is something that can be, that has been debated on even in courts of law, where maybe, say, a county executive committee member, for example, engages in corruption, and instead of them being taken, being made to face the consequences of their actions, then it becomes the governor's, it is blamed on the governor. I think it is important to place accusations and to place the responsibility on the individual officers, and let's come to the governor where there is a direct, link to him, between him and the corrupt deals or deal that there could be in a county. Because you cannot keep, the governor, of course, then holds the political responsibility, but the legal responsibility, in my view, should also rest with the particular officer or group of officers who have been able to, who have, engaged in corruption. Okay. And this drama should end. Okay. Let's see people being summoned, taken to court, evidence presented, and let our judges do what they are trained and employed to do.
All right. And of course, the big headline there, Natembeya Akaziwa, is a big discussion. You look at least 3 of the cartoons on most of the big papers today, and the theme is the same, that there seems to be a trend that those government dissenters are being targeted. You want to add something, Senator?
Yeah, they both silenced me, and I think that...
I want us to wrap up on this issue,
yes,
so that we can discuss
I just wanted to say...
I'll come to you, Bonana.
Yeah, he took mic from me, and you two also got a bite on this, but I wanted to say this, Fred. There are 2 things here. The manner in which Natembeya was arrested and what reason he was arrested for. I think this is a critical way of putting it.
Correct.
And my problem is that the political class is giving more weight on the manner of arrest and not the purpose of arrest. The purpose of arrest, as claimed, this is not me, by EACC, is a matter of corruption of lost public funds. I was just encouraging my brothers that you cannot lose sight on that and giving weight to how he was arrested more than why he was arrested. Because why he was arrested, as alleged, is on the loss of public funds. And I think that you've got a responsibility more to protect public funds than to protect an individual. So that you leave this matter to court, that if it's established that he was indeed found guilty of pilfering or embezzling public funds, then he must be held accountable. That's my work as a senator. And I'm saying that you need to be consistent on the issue of arrest, and not only by IEBC, my friend. It's also by other security agencies that we have seen. I mean, you know, my brother Joe Nyutu is very strategic. You know, he changes depending on where politics finds him. But I don't change according to what politics finds me, because the issues of arbitrary arrest in this country, right, is things that I've fought for as much as possible. Right now, you see him talking about governor being handcuffed. His own minority leader in the Senate, a senator, was arrested when he was protesting in a manner that was demeaning, was bad. That is Honorable Mazaya of Kilifi. He was a member of the but because he was in a political convenience at that time, that he could not be able to talk about arbitrary arrest. He never mentioned a word. In fact, he celebrated in the floor of the House, together with other senators who at that time were aligned with the UDA. Opio Wandai was arrested, the current Waziri for Energy. He did not talk about it like that, arbitrarily. And there are a number of leaders who have been arrested in a way that is demeaning, and Nyutu has never talked about them because for him it's convenient. And that's why I'm telling you that let pressure, I heard Mainak again today in the morning saying, let pressure not take you away from your purpose. And your purpose is to protect devolution, such that as you fight for these human rights, make sure that you also fight for the people, that their money is not stolen.
Listening to Nyutu and my brother Eddie, I get a bit worried. And my worry is this, that up to where we are, Eddie is pretending not to understand what public pressure can do in a good case. You know, if you lose sight of that, Eddie, then you are not protecting that devolution. Because if we do things that then the public dismisses as politics, the intended purpose is lost. Because you need the public to run with the government or with the EACC on this matter. So when you are doing a case, you must understand what is the essence of it in terms of intended purpose. And I will want to share with you something. A former governor of Busia, Jammu, was handled the same way. Last week, they threw away the case. Threw away. Because the drama took away the case. Now, instead of EACC concentrating on tightening evidence, they rushed to do politics, you know, image building at the extent of actual case. And that's why I'm saddened myself. We know the things that are going wrong. But when you are going for it, make sure you look at all sides and say, I want to carry the public with me on this matter. Because you are talking about public resources. Now, you have talked to hear yourself about Songo. People saying, Mwizi wetu. You know, why did they say Mwizi wetu? Look at that. Then you lose it. That is why in this country, I know people who have murder cases, people who have cases of theft, but people go ahead and vote for them. Because we have not handled it in the manner to carry the public to understand that this is a serious matter. It's a matter of that sits in their bedroom. It is eating their school fees. It is eating their roads. It is eating the electricity they should be having. Right. That is my problem.
All right. Thank you, Bwana Nabina Bwera. And I think we hold that discussion we stop it there because there's something else that we need to talk about. And these are jitters around the next general election and the date as well, whether or not it will be free and fair. It is part of the conversation even here at TV47. Let's have that story about jitters around the 2027 election so that we come back and discuss even the concerns around the 2027 election from the IEBC's perspective. All right, on the front page of the Standard, there's a story there about 2027 general election at stake, IEBC warning. On the front page of the Star, IEBC vetting order could trigger crisis. Now, we've ignored the issue of IEBC for a while, and it seems that we've decided that things can be swept under the rug, including the issue around the delimitation of boundaries. We defied a constitutional provision on the delimitation of boundaries last year in March when the deadline passed. Kenyans appear to have moved on and decided we can defy that and everything will be okay. But lawyers have gone to the Supreme Court. The matter is before the Supreme Court seeking an advisory opinion. And according to one of the lawyers, it would appear that an election in 2027 without the delimitation of boundaries could be declared null and void. Senator Newto, let's start from there.
Thank you. And although we have departed from the previous matter, Fred, you know, Eddie mentioned my name and said that I change with convenience. It's important that I also have a right of reply. And he has said that we are concentrating on the way the arrest was done instead of concentrating on the substance of the matter, which is pilferage of public funds. But it's important for